My marriage wasn't anything out of the ordinary, but we had our own way of finding happiness. Sure, there were arguments and misunderstandings. It's just part of the deal, but we always managed to work through them and come out stronger. My wife, Yulia, and I had this unspoken rule: no bottling things up. If something bothered us, we'd sit down, hash it out, and make sure everyone felt heard. But happiness is a fragile thing. It doesn't take much to unsettle it. During the weekdays, I took care of most of the house stuff, and weekends were Yulia's domain. We'd sometimes switch it up, though, and grab dinner at a restaurant or just spend time together. Life had a steady rhythm: work, home, and the occasional effort to keep things fun. I'd surprise her with small gifts, pick up flowers now and then, or take her out for coffee. We weren't wealthy, but we still managed to take family vacations and enjoy each other's company. Our life felt balanced. Even after all these years, our intimacy was as strong as when we first fell for each other. I love Yulia for who she was, then and now. She was everything. Adored by the kids, treasured by her family, and respected at work. To me, she was living her fullest life, completely fulfilled. Then came a bump in the road. Yulia had a falling out at work and ended up resigning. I did everything I could to help her land a new job, one that offered more promise, better pay, and was closer to home. At first, everything seemed fine. I figured her stress and fatigue were just part of settling into a new role. But then things started to shift. Our intimacy began to fade, and she spent less and less time with the kids. She'd always say she was exhausted from work. We understood and gave her space. In fact, during the fall break, I took the kids on a short trip, leaving her some quiet time at home to recharge. But even then, she seemed tethered to her phone, always fielding calls and texts. It was like she couldn't disconnect, no matter how much we tried to give her a breather. I never pried into Yulia's phone, but it was hard to ignore the same name popping up repeatedly: Wilson. I didn't fully buy her explanation. "Are you jealous?" she teased, catching the look on my face. Her laughter was light, dismissive. Her words put me at ease for a moment, but that nagging feeling wouldn't let go. Then, out of the blue, she put a password on her phone. It didn't make sense to me. "Why now?" I asked, trying to keep my tone even. "Oh, it's just for work security," she replied casually, brushing off my concerns. Things seemed to return to normal after that. On the surface, at least. But deep down, nothing felt the same. Our intimacy remained absent, and we began drifting apart. Our conversations reduced to mere formalities. "What's so urgent it can't wait until morning?" I asked, my frustration spilling out. "It's nothing, just something unimportant," she said, shrugging it off. But then she opened the message anyway. "Let me see it," I said firmly. "No, it's my personal space," she snapped, refusing outright. The next day, I couldn't take the uncertainty anymore. I dug deeper and discovered who Wilson really was. What I found hit me like a ton of bricks. He was married, yes, but only had one child. And as for the potbelly and bald head, nowhere in sight. He was younger than me by a few years and looked like the kind of guy who spent hours at the gym. When I talked to Julia, she immediately broke down. She confessed everything. She swore that she didn't love him, that she didn't want to destroy our family. She even got down on her knees, begging for forgiveness. But I couldn't help but be disgusted, not only by what she had done, but also by the fact that our children were unwitting witnesses to it all. I realized I had to do something for them, if not for myself. And that's when I made the agonizing decision to file for divorce. Yulia didn't give up easily. She tried everything: talking, apologizing, crying, even attempting to seduce me. She begged for another chance, saying everyone makes mistakes. She even brought up her colleague whose wife had forgiven him, as if that somehow justified her actions. But for me, there was no going back. Her betrayal had cut too deep.